this is the end you're talking to.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to improvise it. Hello, everybody. Here we are. This is TAPED Crusaders.
We're doing funny voices
This is your co-host, Michael. And as always, I'm joined by...
Angela Thompson.
Yes, Angela. Filling in for Joshua Mervell, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so this is Angela. She is usually our barkeep here at Meteor, right? but
That's
she,
exactly what he calls me.
Yes, she made a request. She's like, I have an idea for a movie, Mystery Man. And I said,
I didn't tell you.
you just wait 57 weeks and you will get your wish.
And then you pushed it 2 more weeks.
No, and then tonight it came true, though.
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it did. And as always, we are joined by Meteor co-owner Champion.
Hi.
That's right, Champion.
I just watched Mystery Men. Thanks,
Okay.
Angela.
Well, we have to be kind. We have to be kind, Ian, because this is Angela's pick. Okay.
Am I
I
fired?
don't have to be kind at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
We'll be as nice as
I don't
we-
blame Angela even a little bit because this was on the list already.
Yeah, it was. Technically, it's not her fault. It's my fault. Yeah.
Not fired. Okay.
Okay. So, and then, look at this. Returning guest. Is this your second or third appearance?
I think this is my third. The prodigal podcaster has returned.
Say that 5 times
Akira
fast.
and what else?
And,
Star
Phantom
Wars.
Menace.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But so it's been a while.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Some big ups and big downs for you for
Yeah.
this podcast.
So here's the thing. We usually talk about our first experience with this movie, like how we came across it. So, for example, I saw this in the theater in the year it came out. What year was it? 99?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
And I remember liking it because I was a huge fan of Ben Stiller, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. But Angela, you have a different story about this movie, right?
I don't even remember the first time I saw it. It was in the box of videotapes that were rented videos in the gas station my parents used to own.
Oh, which
And-
gas station?
Not anywhere near here.
Oh, okay.
But my sister and I wore the tape out probably like twice. We had to have 2 VHSs of it. And yeah, so I guess I'm biased to this movie because it's one of my favorites.
So you've seen it infinite times.
So many times I was quoting it as I was bartending.
Wow.
The boys were laughing at me.
Champion, what's your experience with this movie?
I watched it here.
For the first
I watched
time?
it here for the very first time ever. I didn't know that this was a movie
Okay.
until this conversation started happening several months ago.
Okay.
57 weeks
And
plus 2.
I saw the cast of characters and I saw Ben Stiller. Oh, okay. Janine Garofalo. I'm kind of on the fence. As soon as I saw William H. Macy, my enthusiasm for this movie went through the roof.
Okay. You're a fan.
No, my enthusiasm went past tense through the roof.
Oh,
Then it crashed and burned.
It has subsequently
I see.
descended back to
I'm
terra
also not
firma.
a fan. I'm also not a fan
Oh,
at all.
yeah,
William
yeah.
H. Macy.
Oh,
offense.
no, I like William H. Macy.
Oh, wait. I'm not following your point here.
I'm a big fan of William H. Macy from Fargo,
Okay.
the Coen Brothers movie. I
definitely was
think
not
he was
Fargo.
great for that.
This is like one of those shaman soliloquies in the movie. Like I'm totally confused right now.
But no, I had higher hopes for this movie.
Okay.
Because of the cast.
Okay, I got
And
you.
I was, let down a little bit.
You were let down.
Just a touch.
Nick, what's your story with this movie?
Like hairlines, enthusiasm will recede.
Yeah.
So this was also my first experience with this movie being here.
Interesting.
I knew of this movie against my working knowledge because I
was not my fault.
recognized Hank Azaria's costume and Ben Stiller from the Smash Mouth music video for All Star. I did not realize that was a tie-in.
I did
video
not
for
know
this.
that either.
That's
Wow.
a little embarrassing.
Okay.
It Shrek'd you, didn't it?
So, for myself, like Ian, my enthusiasm was heightened looking at the cast.
Because of
and
William H. Macy?
Honestly, yeah. Yes,
What about
yes,
Tom
yes.
Waits?
Well discussed in the weeks leading up to this because, we only saw the trailer. I don't think
3
we even played
times.
the trailer once. I don't know.
Yeah. We played it many times.
Couldn't find a copy of it.
So
Anywhere. I looked everywhere.
So while my enthusiasm also waned, I am also a simple man of simple tastes, and I like pretty colors, and I like production design, and there were a lot of times where this movie really suckered me in with that. I was talking to Ian earlier, whenever I see something vaguely like Blade Runner, I
Yeah. Okay.
I point, jaw agape. So that really sold me for a lot. And I think while this movie takes a lot of swings and it misses a decent amount of times, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And when it does land, I got a laugh out of it. So it's a mixed bag for me, but I still found lots to enjoy within it.
You know, it's funny because I actually think one of the biggest detriments to this movie is the production value, or maybe the way the production value is filmed, because I think it tried too hard to, like, you're watching, if you were to just turn the sound off and just or skip to the middle of the movie and you were to look at one of the shots of the city, you'd think you were watching a Tim Burton Batman movie or even a Joel Schumacher Batman movie.
100%.
Does kind of look like Gotham,
Right?
you're right? Yeah.
And I think that it was too dark. Like, actually, like, the blacks. There was too many blacks in this movie. It was too dark. And it was... There's this thing about comedy. Comedy's funny when you put the camera far away. It's never funny when you put the camera right here. And this movie did that a lot. Big, not only close-ups, but the camera was like pointing up at the actors, which is a really weird choice. And so a lot of times, like Ben Stiller, who I think is always funny, he'd be in a scene where you'd expect the camera to be like there, but it would be like right here. And then like the woman in the junkyard, the camera would be right here. And I think that killed a lot of the humor. What did you think?
I think it kind of went for the awkwardness of the movie. Like, they're supposed to be misfits and weirdos and camera angles included.
So you think it like helped it? Like, did that help?
I'm biased. I love the movie.
So,
So in a way,
I can see that
And the
point.
woman in the junkyard, like, you want to be unnerved with that lady. You're like, ugh.
I think it
The
worked
extreme
in that
close-up.
case for sure.
Right?
I
Because
think
they're
in
all
that case it
misfits
did.
and they're all like, they're going to save the city eventually. Maybe. Spoon. We don't know how spoon, but kind of spoon.
And it's funny because looking at the filmography of the director, I think to your point about how it's filmed, you can definitely tell that this guy's a commercial guy because this is the only feature-length movie he's done. Everything else that he's done is commercials. So when I see those Dutch angles
Yes.
and those zoom-ups and those tracking shots, especially in the parole hearing, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, I'm like, this guy's made a killer Super Bowl commercial at some point.
Right.
That's so. I think it's interesting seeing that transition from. I think he's also done music videos as well. I think that would explain a lot of how this is filmed. He
Yeah.
definitely comes from that kind of school. I think we were reading the Wikipedia earlier, and it talks about how he worked his way up to Steadicam. And I'm like, what an inspiring journey for this director that sounds like he has a name that's made up. I forget what it was.
Is it McGee?
Oh my god. Well, Charlie's Angels will have to be in the,
No,
in the
no,
chamber
it's-
down the line.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. But no, that makes total sense because it seems like a guy who knows all about, zoom and dolly and flip around, but not actually how to tell a story or how to
Things the
stage
camera
something.
can do, but should they?
Yeah, that's the
yeah.
question.
It's like when they were training, that's all vivid. That's bright outside colors.
See, okay, I have a lot to say, but first I want to hear Champion. What do you think about the way it was filmed?
It was clearly shot by somebody who has spent his entire career trying to tell a story within 45 seconds.
Okay.
And
So he has ADHD.
you got to go fast. You have to compress everything. There's never any time to breathe. This movie didn't breathe ever. It was just go, 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 go.
Right.
And it was exhausting. You need a second or two to just let the movie be something else for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have the impact of this crazy band of misfits if you don't bring it back down once in a while. I don't know. He doesn't like he didn't let anything really happen organically.
I agree. Okay, Angela. So you mentioned the scene outside by the pool, the auditions or whatever, right?
Oh, the
tryouts?
Yeah, the tryouts.
See, that was a scene that could have been a chance to breathe because it was outside, but it's still crazy angles and close-ups and whatever. When they went outside to the woods and they were like sewing with the shaman guy, that was a brief moment where it looked somewhat normal. It was the most normal part of the whole movie. But I wish that more of the movie was like that. What?
How is that normal?
Because the angles and the light, because it was sunlight.
I was
you
just
know what I
like
mean?
thinking about like superheroes.
No,
misfits
no,
sewing
no.
in the woods.
I think it's normal because I mean,
Sorry.
who amongst us
But
has
I
never
understand.
had to get an extra thimble?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a bunch.
No, but like
They are good to know.
yeah.
I think okay. when Tim Burton's Batman came out, it was good, and then Batman Returns was like up to 11, and I loved it, but then things started to get wacky with everything else, like Generation X, which imitated it, Joel Schumacher's Batman, which imitated Tim Burton, right? And then me and Ian have reviewed all these superhero movies from the 90s that have imitated Tim Burton.
All very good superhero
all
movies.
terrible. And this movie seemed like it was like a 15th, like a photocopy, the second photocopy, the third, the fourth. This is like the 15th generation photocopy of Tim Burton's style, of the way they shot the city, the way they lit everything. You don't agree, though,
I
right?
dare say that
Well,
that
think
might
about the
have
time
been
it came out at the same time.
What's that?
1999.
Yeah,
it came out?
99.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, because it's a parody movie, I think that would have been intentional, though.
Right?
I think that would have been kind of the idea that at this point, audiences probably were quite fatigued with seeing that kind of production style. So I think you
It's
could argue
exhausting
that
being a
it's
misfit.
a send-up of that. Whether or not it works is up to
Well,
you.
that's the
Right?
thing. You say that audiences are fatigued, so you hammer it for a whole other movie to make a joke.
Fair
Like-
enough.
Like if you want to make that joke, maybe start the movie like that and then do something else.
Fair enough.
yeah, because it's one thing to do it, but it's another thing to identify what's bad about it, right? Like, if you're going to do that lighting or you're going to do the exaggerated acting, somehow call attention to it. Like, remember in Princess Bride when the guy's tied up or whatever, and then the guy's standing over him and he's like, "Ugh, I'm gonna blah blah blah," and then he clears his throat and then he has a normal voice. It's almost like this movie needed to do that. It needs to do that, like Ian said. You have the scene be all dark, and then someone calls attention to it, and then the rest of the movie's normal or something like that.
Like when the Blue Raj, was that Hank Azaria's character's name? The Blue Raj, when he has the bit where I'm like, well, he's doing this accent pretty well. And then
Yes.
it breaks when he's like living with his mom, and he just
Something like that.
I wanted more of that because that I think was the most consistent hit for me. But it only
Yeah.
happened,
Right.
it only really happens
Like
twice
two
in the
times.
movie.
Right.
And
Two
times.
They're kind of like
And
bookends.
then they ruin it by his mom saying, "Can you say the accent?" Well, I mean, like that was sort of a funny bit, but no, I agree with you entirely. As soon as, because I hated his accent.
I hated it
I
too.
hated his accent. And as soon as he did the whole the J-Rock from Trailer Park Boys thing, right? When his mom's around, he's
Right.
all of a sudden he's like, "Mom, I'm trying to do my rapping."
Are you smoking
That was
the
great.
reefer?
But then he went right back to doing the voice for the rest of the goddamn movie. And like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I see the bit, but I'm tired of this part. I want to see more of the funny part.
That's the thing, is like, he is a comedian and he knows how to do accents, but his accent bugged me and I was not laughing. But when he was normal, I was laughing. So yeah, it's like you said, you can do it, but should you do it, right?
Right. And again, just I think that comes down to just writing in terms
Yeah.
of pacing and stuff. Because I found because with Champion's point that, which by the way, so modest of you to not call attention to the fact that the city in the movie's named after you.
Oh,
my God.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that. That's a good point. Champion City.
wow,
Okay, anyway.
wow! I got a city named
And
after
I
me. In
picked the
the
movie.
A whole
Okay.
city of Ian's. Well, and what I found interesting is that you made a point about how
No,
like
I'm
this movie
definitely
seems go
fired.
go go. To me, I found there's a lot of points where it was in fact not very go 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 at all. For me, there were points where it really dragged, especially
yeah.
near the middle. So I mean, the counterpoint was that when you had something like Captain Amazing get fucking vaporized, I'm like, oh shit, it's brought me back in, and then putter 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 putter, until something happens with like William H. Macy doing a bit. Or,
I think this movie at least could have had 30 minutes cut off, at least. Like 90, to me, a comedy, 90 minutes is a good cutoff, right? This movie was, how long was it? 2
It's
hours?
an hour and 20 minutes?
No, this movie?
No, it's 120 minutes.
That's
Oh,
2 hours.
sorry,
I
120.
know. I was waiting for your. You're like, what? Yeah.
So which is 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's just everyone. Okay, and I don't like to people watch, but when I was watching the movie, I was starting to notice Ian. I was trying to calculate how many times does Ian laugh. 0.4 times, like barely at all.
I laughed a couple times.
Okay.
I laughed a couple times. I laughed a bit.
actually laughed.
Okay.
At the part where the Blue Raja was speaking in his regular voice to his mom.
Okay.
I laughed at the bit where Ben Stiller, he predicted
Yes.
the joke.
Yes.
Yep.
Not the joke, but the
Like
The saying, the sage
if
wisdom.
you do not
yeah.
master your rage, rage will become your master. That's what you're gonna say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
That was really good.
that was funny.
For me, there were a lot of, like, it was small detail bits that weren't even necessarily like a joke, but for example, the Blue Raja, the fact he's wearing red chucks for some reason.
Right,
and I'm
right.
like, what? Even though he has this
His
whole
costume is
Sure.
green the
Right.
entire movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I found that really funny. But what was another one? Oh, when they're having the fight with the Red Eyes, that gang at the front of the movie,
Sure.
and they're at the nursing home. Guy gets thrown into the bar, but instead of alcohol being stocked in the back, it's all medication.
I didn't even notice
It's an
that.
old
I'm like,
folks
I'm
home.
like,
Okay,
I'm like, oh,
okay. I
I'm like,
didn't
oh,
notice
that's
that.
really clever. That's a,
That
again,
is.
it's
too
all-
bad they didn't call attention to it.
Right,
at all.
exactly. It was on the screen for like for like not even 5 seconds. I'm like, hey, that's funny. There's little tidbits
Yeah.
in there where I'm
You have
like,
to watch
hey,
it
there's
again.
some-
Oh, I have to watch it again tonight.
There's a
when I
really
get home.
there's an especially clever movie within there, but there needs to be a lot of like shaving off, I think, to get on there.
And
Well-
they spend too much time explaining jokes that they've made too, right? Going back to the Blue Raj bit where he wears no blue at all.
Right.
That's funny as long as you never call attention to it.
Sure.
Don't mention it 4 times.
Right.
Don't
right,
mention
right,
it 4 times.
Right. Right.
Because it's not funny now because you mentioned it once, and now it's just stupid. The second, yeah, we know that he has got no blue in his costume.
I
get it.
think the most consistent. It wasn't even necessarily that it was laugh out loud funny, but the most consistent bits for me were William H. Macy and his wife, because those scenes had the most like clear identity about them. They almost were kind of like Wes Anderson-y because it was
Sure.
the camera,
Yeah.
which is like I don't think Gummo had even come out at this point, or Gummo was not even. Nope, that was '96. So you had the camera just fixed on William H.
Sure.
Macy's face and very deadpan delivery from him and his wife. That worked. That felt like it was the most consistent and not overcooked. There was, it wasn't like Blue Raj's accent dropping bit, which only happened twice. It happened just enough to where I could call back or know what that scene was going to be like, but it wasn't. It wasn't super dragged out like some of the jokes are.
And that's one of the jokes you heard me laugh at when his kid had the little plastic shovel, and he's just like, "I believe in you, Dad," for 1 second. I was like, "Ha! Well, that's
Yeah.
great." And they called back on that again at the end of the movie, like, "I'm proud of you." That little shit like that.
Sure.
But it also, another problem that I had with the movie is that it's all about these people trying to be superheroes and very little about their actual lives.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So when we visit William H. Macy and his family, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is more interesting now.
I agree with that. That would have carried the movie in a totally different direction if they would have focused more on that. But I also think that Ben Stiller, okay, I laughed during this movie, and I think every time I laughed it was when Ben Stiller said something, because he is my idol. I love Ben Stiller. And I feel like whenever the camera's on him, I assume he's ad-libbing. Like when the waitress is like, "What's your real name?" He's like, Phoenix Dirk. And then he just starts going off, and it's just, he's just doing his thing, and she's reacting, and it's gold. I think everything he said was gold. But then I know that I've seen him in like Dodgeball's not a good movie, but he is a genius in Dodgeball. And when this movie, he's doing his routine, but like he gets on the bike and he's trying to rev it up, and the camera is like under his foot, pointing up at him, and it's cutting, and it's dark. It sabotages his thing, I think. What do you think?
Like, we'll have to Google it and find out if it's supposed to be awkward like that, or if he just sucks at camera filming.
I think it's because the director is a video director, like you said,
Maybe he
right?
was stoned.
Maybe.
I honestly, for me, Ben Stiller was the weakest part of the movie.
Holy shit!
All right,
are you
my
okay?
third and last episode
Yeah.
invited on the podcast.
Tony's-
Third
Oh
time's
my
the
God.
charm.
It's nice to
Daddy's
meet
sitting
you.
on
Thank
folks
you.
at home.
And I'm glad I'm
Hi,
not drenched
Mom.
in that
How
water.
can Ben Stiller be the?
I
I'm speechless.
in the same way that I think I have friends that are like, Will Ferrell doesn't do it for them.
I don't like Will
Jack
Ferrell,
Black doesn't do it for
personally.
them, and you ask them why, and you say, just doesn't, their shtick doesn't do it for me.
I love Jack
I don't mind him. I actually like Ben Stiller in quite a lot of stuff, and I like the Ben Stiller show. Actually, funny enough.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think I just kind of got tired of his shtick that he had in this movie. I think for me, it was the least compelling of all the different bits.
So who was your favorite?
it's got to be William H. Macy for me, just because he plays it so deadpan, and that I think made that so funny because he's playing it so straight, and his bit is he's the shoveler. He walks around with a hard hat and a shovel, and he whacks people with it. And his triumphant moment in the climax is that he produces a spade. Come on, man. That's really.
he definitely stole from his
I
wife.
think that's really good. But I also his. I know it's supposed to be ridiculous. Ben Stiller's arc with the waitress.
Yeah.
Felt kind of just. I'm like. Listen, I'm not saying everything has to pass every character has to pass the Bechdel test, but it felt very tacked on. Just it was.
Well, okay. Can I just say
Sure.
it might have felt tacked on, but to me, it was the only thing in the movie that resembled a story. There was nothing else in the movie that was a story to me, like nothing. So it's like that was, and that's why I say he was the only good character, and he had the only good story, and then Janine Garofalo was number 2, and everyone else was.
I mean,
sorry.
I wouldn't call the love story good because she
But
walks him home because pity. I
She
don't
walks
know.
him home.
I still thought it was funny though. I thought everything about it was legitimately. I thought it was funny.
Oh,
Like,
the nosebleed
ridiculous.
yeah,
issues
like
going
that,
on.
like,
That
and
that was
when
a good bit.
when he's like,
All
I
the
just want to
awkward-
apologize
Yeah.
for being so intimidating or whatever. And she's like, yeah, I don't find you intimidating at all. Like,
Okay,
that
yes.
whole,
He finds
that was
her
the-
intimidating.
yeah, that bit was
That's
great.
what I'm talking about. There's bits of writing within this script that really do work.
Sure.
Like when the bat connects on these jokes, I mean they really land.
Doesn't it feel? And I'm being serious. It feels like it was like the scenes where Ben Stiller was probably ad-libbing his own shit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there was the script and then there was the stuff Ben Stiller did. And it was two separate things. And everything he did was good and everything else was not good.
So we're watching 2 different movies at the same time.
Yeah, that's
here.
my theory about what happened.
That's why I think you should watch it again.
Okay. I will tonight.
And what's funny too is that like, in terms of the, I'm not sure how involved he was in like the writing process, or maybe he like was a producer on this as well too. I'm not sure because 99 he would have been pretty bankable at that time, and this was not, I think, for the time a cheap movie. I think it was like 63 million. I think was the budget, and I you can see that in the set. Like they made pretty grandiose, big
Sure.
sets, a lot of effect shots as well, practical and CGI. So there was a lot put into this, and I would really be curious to know. I don't know if there's the chronicling of the production of Mystery Men out
I'm sure
there.
there's a Wikipedia article out there somewhere we could read. But
Yeah,
If Josh was here, we'd already have him looking at
Yeah.
his phone
Right,
for it.
exactly.
I
I
just
didn't know
want
that
to.
was part of my role today.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
Angela, you didn't do your homework. It's okay though.
Josh.
Yeah, this is your movie. You should know
Yeah.
all these
Well,
things.
But Ian,
Josh's
what do you
job.
think about my analysis of Mystery Men? About the script versus the ad-libbing and Ben Stiller and all that.
Yeah, I think there was a pretty noticeable disconnect between and I'm not necessarily saying that all of Ben Stiller's ad-libbing was great.
Thank you. I
Right?
think it was. But
Like
anyway,
like when he's giving his name,
yeah.
I
thought it was-
again, like everything else in this movie, it went on just a little bit too long.
Okay.
You shave 1/3 of that
sure.
off, right?
Sure.
I did
And-
read one. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I did read when TJ was sending me a bunch of articles. The only thing that I did read that he sent me was that a bunch of the scenes are happy accidents.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Like, there's some
Like
Oh
when,
my
examples.
God,
when,
that tracks.
when the spleen flashlighted and the garbage can lights on fire, they had an extra just throw a lighter in the garbage, and I guess it was like one of the not big ones, the ones that stay lit sometimes.
Okay.
And it just blew up.
Wow.
It
Okay.
just worked.
Yeah, and because that was a quick bit that landed and then
Yep.
moved
Sure.
on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where that movie has the most success. Like you were saying.
And the
When it-
skunk.
Oh, wait. Was that a happy
The
accident?
skunk.
The skunk.
Oh,
It was funny for the first 2.5 seconds,
it's generous.
if that, and then they cut to the wide shot and the silhouette, and they held it, right?
Only wide shots in the movie.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't
Besides,
call that a happy accident. I'd
Invisible
call
Boy
that an
being
unhappy
invisible.
accident.
Okay. Let's back up. What if this movie was remade? Okay. What if we went back in time to 1999 and we remade the movie with, instead of a budget of 63 million, what if it was 6 million?
Be
And
so
it
much
was
funnier.
they didn't build Gotham. They They didn't build anything. They just used a real city, and they used cheap, flat Saturday Night Live lighting, and they just filmed the movie like that.
It'd be
Would it be
Hot Rod.
funnier? Like Hot Rod? Would it be funnier?
It would be Hot Rod.
Wouldn't that be better?
No.
Oh. Okay, Ian, what do you think? Would it be better? No.
You can't know. You can't know. The problems that I had with this movie weren't with the way that it was shot necessarily. The way that it was shot wasn't all that interesting, but it didn't pull me out. Like I wasn't sitting there thinking, why is it close up after close up after close up? I wasn't thinking that. It was the jokes weren't landing, the writing, the fact that almost every time a joke did land, there was another couple lines that followed it.
Sure.
Just sort of like, oh, I made a joke. Haha, wasn't that funny? The thing that I said. No, just cut, move on, cut, move on.
Sure.
Keep things tight and compact. And there was just too much superfluous stuff that we didn't need.
Sure.
And
sure.
I don't know how much of that was in the script. I think that's the problem with ad-libbing. If you rely on it too much, then your movie's going to be a mess because you don't know when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I'm wondering how much of kind of the inconsistency with the writing and kind of almost unsure of itself kind of feeling you get watching it was because I don't think, to my knowledge, there was really any superhero movie parodies at the time. I mean, mainstream, at this point, this would have been post-Batman and Robin, but
right.
after Blade, but pre-X-Men. So
That's
it
a
was
good
this
point.
very,
Exactly.
very, very interesting period to be parodying superhero movies.
Yep.
Because superhero movies were still kind of figuring out what was landing in the serious ones
Right.
that were trying to make a serious attempt to adapt comic books or do superhero stories and what have you. So maybe that has to do with how it feels kind of like it needs a lot of sanding on the script.
Sure.
And to add to that as well, it's like out of the ridiculous comedies of that era, it's kind of the start of the beginning of, like, let's say Step Brothers, you know, like the ridiculous of the ridiculous movies that come out.
Oh, like
comedies
the
on a comedy aspect.
oh my god, what did they? There's a name that they had for that kind of group, like Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, all of those.
Oh, the
Yeah.
not Brat Pack. They're the
Frat
Frat
Pack.
Pack.
Oh,
Frat
God.
Pack.
Yeah.
So
I like some of the Frat Pack. This is, well, because Ben Stiller's part of that, kind of.
Right.
But I also think, are you thinking more of like Scary Movie and stuff like that? Like
no,
specific?
No, not
Okay.
that. Just like the ridiculous comedies, like Superbad, the ones that are like,
Okay.
you either love them or you hate them. Like you
Yeah.
were saying, some people love Will Ferrell and some people hate them. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and
right?
like I
But
said,
the
for
ridiculous
me
movies.
personally, I think Ben Stiller's my one where like I like him in most movies like that I've seen him, but in this one, I'm just like the shtick is just not doing it for me. Oh my gosh! Like, I'm trying. Like, if they're trying to find a point of reference in terms of where they're directing their parody, like you said, the set design looks like it's kind of Burton-y Gotham, but really, like again, we have no X-Men movie at this point
Right.
to reference. We have no.
Yeah.
We have,
Were there any like ensemble cast superhero films?
except
Well,
for the
at this
Fantastic
point-
Four,
I'll
which
tell you
wasn't
something,
never released.
Ian. I'll tell you, you would know because you've seen them all. Because we've watched every superhero movie on this podcast now.
I guess I would. So I guess the answer is no.
No,
Not
no,
really.
yeah,
Not
you're
really.
right. The answer is no. Yeah,
And ironically, that you mentioned the Fantastic Four movie that wasn't released
Right.
because it trounces this movie.
yeah, it kind of does. Yeah. So okay, I'm gonna make. I have to make one more reference to Ben Stiller here. I have a personal favorite joke that he did because it's specifically a comic book joke, not a movie joke. You know the part where he goes back to apologize to William H. Macy?
Right.
And he can't quite apologize. And then he's like, you know, blood boiling, temper subsiding. And he's like narrating. That is a Wolverine narration joke, in my opinion. That is like, I don't know if you've read X-Men comics. Like,
Long time.
I love X-Men and I love Chris Claremont, but what'll happen is Wolverine will like go into a battle and he'll be like narrating in his head, but he's narrating like things that you wouldn't have timed it, like, you know, going into berserker mode, getting angry, you know, animal instinct kicking in. And it's like, that has to be what that scene's parodying, because you don't see that in movies. You only see it in X-Men comics. So
Okay.
I love that. Like, I was eating that up when I was watching it. So I have to give credit to the writers, if that was the writers or it was Ben Stiller. So that's a joke that maybe moviegoers wouldn't get, but I think comic book readers would appreciate.
Well, then what
There's
you
actually
do?
a couple comic book like references in this movie. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now besides that one. That's the biggest one. But like,
There's probably
if
a
you watch
bunch.
it again,
Yeah.
you're gonna laugh.
I want to watch it tonight. Yeah.
Yep.
So Ian, what were
Tonight.
you gonna say?
And then
Well,
tomorrow too.
if you're making that joke and it's a comic book joke and you're worried that movie people aren't going to get a comic book joke, do it up like a comic book panel.
Like
and have
show
him narrating it and like have it in comic book font in a little inset
Sure,
box.
like Scott Pilgrim-ish, kind of.
Exactly
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Whew. So, if this movie was remade, or not remade, but in some way rebooted, maybe Edgar Wright would be the man to do it, right?
Chewing on that one.
Yeah, chewing on that
because
one.
I'm like, it's so hard to say that now because we've had the like snarky superhero parody.
Sure,
be
like
done
with
so
Deadpool
much.
and all that.
What I think, because I think one of you had mentioned the idea of like, okay, what if this was just focusing on their lives, like they're just like regular guys?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, what's it called? Super? Is that the one with Rainn Wilson? Or what's the? Oh my god.
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh my god. I saw it a long time ago.
Okay.
So what's the premise?
Oh my god. Rainn Wilson plays a guy.
But who's the director? Do you know? It's someone famous.
Is it James Gunn?
I think it might be.
It might be James Gunn, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be. Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is that, again, he's just a guy who dresses up.
Mm-hmm.
He has no powers at all. He just dresses up. He decides to be a superhero.
Or even Kick-Ass.
I was
Yeah,
just about to say
Kick-Ass
that.
exactly.
is kind of like that.
Exactly.
You see Kick-Ass, Ian?
I think I have.
Okay.
What's the premise of that?
It's just
Same
a guy
thing
who
that
dresses up and
Nick
gets his
just-
ass kicked.
yeah.
He's like a superhero, but he has no powers, and he has a green costume, and that's it. And that's it. But it's like a comedy, but kind of realistic.
Okay.
Right.
Nicolas Cage is in it.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage is in it.
That rings a bell. Which one?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the one where the guy's dressing up in like an old Batman costume.
Yeah,
And he's
Nic-
got-
and
he's got
Nicolas
the
Cage
daughter?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it?
that's
Yeah.
it. Because Nicolas Cage plays the Batman as character.
Okay.
And Chloe
Chloe Grace Moretz plays was it
Hit
is it
Girl.
Hit Girl,
Yeah,
yes.
so you probably saw it then.
That
yeah.
was really good. That was
Yeah,
really
that
good.
was-
I enjoyed that a lot.
That was more what this should have been, I think.
Yeah,
right?
because now we're very spoiled for choice if you want like
Yeah.
a self-parodying or like snarky
Right.
superhero movie. So, you can give this credit that it was the first one to kind of try it.
Sure.
So what?
Maybe it paved the way for Kick-Ass.
Maybe it paved
maybe,
the way.
Maybe.
So that's the thing. The thing about Edgar Wright is, if you think about it, Shaun of the Dead is zombies. Hot Fuzz is cop movies. Then what was the next one?
World's End.
World's End was
Those aliens.
alien movies.
Yeah.
And then he kind of stopped doing those specific genre films. But maybe he could do a superhero parody. I don't know.
Ooh.
Just an idea.
From a directorial standpoint, he'd be very good at it.
Yeah.
He'd be very good at it.
I agree, actually.
He knows
Not
what wide
Mr.
shots
Man.
are.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Okay, so we usually go through all the cast, but we've kind of talked about a lot of. Is there any cast members you want to mention, Angela, that we haven't covered yet? Like give praise to. Praise be with them.
Dane Cook's cameo.
Who?
Dane Cook's cameo. The
Oh.
Waffler.
Who is he?
The Waffler.
Oh, I think there was a lot of cameos. I bet you if we
There
were to
was,
go
yeah.
through all those people that
Tom
auditioned,
Waits.
there were probably
Oh,
Tom
yeah.
Waits. What was he doing in this movie anyway? He was good though. He was good.
Even though he wasn't particularly funny all the time to me, Casanova Frankenstein, I did enjoy.
He was fine, but he just
For a second, I thought he was James Woods.
he had a James Woods vibe, but even though Jeffrey Rush obviously is a good actor, think they maybe spent too much time on him. Ian,
Bits got drawn out.
yeah,
a
way too drawn
long
out, right?
time. The disco thing was kind of funny at first, and
Yeah.
It's
then-
not dead.
no, disco's not dead. But that joke was after 45 minutes, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like,
It's
I
because
get it.
disco is
I'm like,
dead.
I get it.
I zoned out watching this movie 30, 40 times.
Yeah.
And so I've missed parts of it, but the disco thing sticks in my brain as one of those moments where I'd look up and, oh, they're still doing this?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
Okay.
I know. It needed an editor to cut 30 minutes out of the film, in my opinion, and it might have helped a lot.
that's something that I was thinking as I was watching this, that this would be a good episode of something.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Of a TV show. Yeah. 45
Yeah.
minutes.
It doesn't have nearly enough anything to carry it for a feature length movie, let alone a 2 hour.
but
But if it was a series, you would probably off yourself.
But
to watch
okay, now
all of
Well,
we
no, I
don't-
just wouldn't watch it.
we don't want to. We don't want to.
Champion doesn't want to see the city.
We don't want to attack people's choices for films. This film was technically Angela's pick.
Technically, it was already on the roster.
Technically, it was already on the roster, but it was also
But
Angela's
it
pick.
was my pick.
It was your fault. But here's my question.
I don't know.
Fine.
She pours my drink,
No,
so
no,
I
no,
don't, I don't
but
think she can do any wrong.
I have forced these guys to watch a lot of bad movies, but I mean,
This is the worst one so far.
no. It's not
Exactly.
the
No,
worst
not by
one.
far.
Exactly.
Not by, well,
But and we're not picking on you. We're not picking
I
on
know.
your choice. But
We're picking on Ben Stiller.
No. I will never pick on Ben Stiller. I love Ben Stiller. But
Nick's picking on Ben Stiller.
I don't even know what my question's going to be.
Avert your gaze.
But like, could you watch it again tomorrow and still enjoy it? Do you think?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, when was the last time you saw it before tonight?
Probably a year ago with my sister on her birthday.
So, in your ranking of movies you've seen the most amount of times, where does this rank? Number 1?
No, most amount of times. It's up in the top 5 though.
Top 5.
Yeah,
Can you
for
just
sure.
give us your top 5?
Not on
Not.
top 5.
I give you my top
Let's
5.
see.
Will that help? Grease 2, National Lampoon's
Grease
Vacation.
2?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Night
Can't
Shift.
watch Grease though.
Okay.
Star
Grease
Wars.
2.
Grease Lightning.
How can you not? Yeah, exactly.
I can't
That's
put
my
them
top
in
5.
order, but top 5 would be Mystery Men, Grease, Cats Don't Dance.
Cats Don't Dance.
Oh, that's a deep cut.
What?
That's awesome.
You didn't say Super Cats Don't
That's
Dance.
never heard of
That's
it.
a great
Never heard of
animated
it.
movie. Oh my god.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
What was that
really,
for?
really
That's
well
4, I
done.
think.
Count.
One more.
The Black Cauldron.
That's a solid deep cut. I only
Yep.
saw it for the first time literally like 2 years ago. I had to like dig to find
Can we
it.
put that on the roster?
We'll put that on the roster.
Yes.
There you go.
Wow. Ooh.
Munchings and crunchings.
Okay, I think we've said all we can say about Mystery Men. I love Ben Stiller. I love Janine Garofalo. The rest, not so much. That's my final take. We're going to give
We're
you the
getting him a
final word,
bowling
though.
ball for
So we're
Christmas.
going to skip over you and go to Champion. What's your final word on this movie?
My final word on this movie is that I felt in watching it that I was watching a group of kind of funny people do some inside joke kind of stuff, that things that I didn't understand because I wasn't part of the cool kids crew.
Sure.
And every once in a while, something would kind of trickle down that I'd get because
Like trickle down economics, yeah.
some jokes are just universally funny.
Sure.
But for the most part, it kind of felt as though I was an outsider watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to go the route of trickle-down economics, much like Ronald Reagan, every once in a while it did make me laugh.
I'm serving him water from
Okay.
And depending
You're
on
cut
what
off.
audience you're saying that to, that can be the final word.
Okay, solid. But we have one more person. Angela, you have the final word for this movie. What is your final word
Final word.
on this movie?
They finally saved the city. It wasn't spoon enough though.
What?
Yeah.
I'm a limey folk fling a mother.
Okay. I just still.
The movie's over. They finally saved the city, but it was too long. Took too long, didn't it?
It took about 30 minutes too
There
long.
you go.
We want to thank Champion for hosting movie night
spoon
every
enough.
week. Thank you.
Anytime.
Anytime.
The next few weeks are going to be great. Looking forward to them.
Ooh, come out every Wednesday to Meteor, sometimes Tuesday. We've got a lot of good movies coming up that are going to be aired or screened after this episode airs. So we shouldn't even talk about them because this is going to air in like July. Sorry. But yeah, still come out every week though. I kind of just killed the momentum there. Sorry, guys. Ian, where can you find our episodes?
I
Do you
think that's
know?
your second Ben Stiller moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Second one. Do you know where we can find our episodes?
Oh, you can find all of our episodes in video format on comicbooksyndicate.com or on YouTube.
That's
or
right.
maybe Spotify or
Nope.
no, not on Spotify.
On
may-
Napster?
I think that's- yeah,
on
Napster.
Blue Sky Social,
MySpace.com.
Threads.
Yep, there you go.
Twitter, aka
ICQ.
Yep.
the
Being cool
fascist.
Yeah, exactly.
And every Wednesday right here
Exactly.
at Meteor.
Okay, thank you, Nick, for joining us again.
My pleasure. I'll see you folks in 3 years on the next episode.
All right, yeah, when you're out of exile. And Angela, thank you so much for the pick. Never do it again. No, I'm just kidding.
It was already on the roster.
I know, I'm kidding.
Thank you, Angela.
Don't
Yeah,
encourage
thank you.
You're
him.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. Okay, We blame you. See you next time. Bye.
As you should.